Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about a VR request near field communication, aka NFC. So let's dive right into it. Well, first you have to understand what the heck we are talking about. Well, it's in the name itself. So you have seen this logo in your mobile phone, in your headphones, in your Bluetooth speaker, maybe even your car or some things like that. So what the heck it is? It's near field communication. So name itself specifies it's for communication and it's near field. What does near field mean? Near field means you have to be close. So basically Wi-Fi can go pretty far, let's say 20 meters. Mobile communication, again, it goes for kilometers. But this puppy is very, again, near. What does that mean? That means you have to be almost touching. And for security reason and the convenience factor, people design it in such a way that you have to almost touch, even though technically it can work, but the software is designed in such a way that you have to be almost on top of each other. So that's the near field part of it. It's a wireless system. Again, even though you are physically touching, it's not like you are making electrical contact. It's completely isolated. It's wireless and it's batteryless. So whatever receiver you have, it does not have to do anything. It does not need to carry any electricity of its own. Now it's inherently designed in such a way that it will have small data capacity. Basically we are talking kilobits, not like gigabyte or something like that. Very little bits of data. Basically floppy disk will start to look bigger compared to this, and it can be used for payments because again it was developed for mobile industry, but other companies also started to utilize it in their payment gateways. So that's what we are talking about. So we have to understand why the heck it is. Well, you have to understand this. Malls, shopping malls, things of that nature became very successful because of one critical technology that you don't think too much about it, but that is RFID, radio frequency identification. Now, a radio frequency identification is basically granddad of NFC. What does it is? Basically, you have a lot of thin antenna, basically a copper wire, aluminum wire, or sometimes aluminum paint itself, and it's acting as a receiver. It's absorbing the electrical energy, basically radio energy, it's converting that, and then storing it in capacitors, and then using that stored energy, it is sending out a signal. Signal sent out is very weak, but it's more than enough to detect, and that's how a battery-less system starts to work. It's electric, and its design is stable that you can mass produce it, basically make millions and billions of them. So per unit cost would be so less that a company like a company who's running a, let's say, shopping mall can afford to put it in their every single product, every single deodorant bottle. They can put it there because you have to understand that you may like, hey, $1 is not too expensive, but if you have to put $1 for 10,000 item, yeah, $10,000 is gonna hurt you. So these components are generally few cents or sometimes even less than one whole cent. So that was a very core reason why RFID became successful. And not to mention that RFID is not only limited to, let's say, shopping industry. It's also very critical in transfer infrastructure. Basically, big goods moving from point A to point B. A bigger brother of NFCs are generally used for, let's say, shipping containers and all that jazz. It's very common. Even in railway cards, they are being used. So it's a very time-tested, thorough technology. However, it was inherently designed with a limitation. It was one way. It's basically, I send you the data, that's it. Like I don't care about anything else. So that inherently created limitation. So for handshake, specifically where you wanted your ID to change, basically, let's say you have encryption that generates a random number. But again, if you have only one way data transfer, you have to put that data in there and that's it. Like the password will not change. So for that reason, two-way communication was needed. Like this will become more apparent if you try to basically NFC swap to mobile phones, because both of them will randomly generate the basically pairing code. So we fixed that problem, basically made it from one way to two way, and it has enough data capacity for a handshake because NFC is inherently designed for very low bandwidth. It's basically like, this is who I am. It's not like, this is what I do. This is like, it's not for life story. It's just who am I. So utilizing that, people started to create this for handshakes. Basically, Bluetooth will send your data from your mobile phone to your headphones, but NFC tag will allow you to transfer the device name and pairing code. For this reason, and given the fact that you are supposed to be physically touching the device, it knows for a fact that you both of them are in the same position, both of them are in the same user. It's like, okay, let's engage this thing. So that was one another advantage. One final thing that was necessary for NFC to become popular, it was like it's supposed to be user creative. While RFID is quite cheap and something well used everywhere, and I'm reasonably sure you can go around your house and you will find one NFC tag hidden somewhere, RFID tag somewhere in some product, but it's not designed for common people. It's not designed for, let's say, you want to do, let's say, put an NFC tag on this TV. It's like, I'm gonna take this mobile, I'm gonna tap it here and it's gonna screencast it. It's not built for that. But NFC was designed in such a way that user can make tags. Basically tags will be sold. Again, it will be a bit more expensive compared to almost free RFID, but it will be cheap enough. Basically, let's say 500 rupees, basically less than $1 per tag. You can buy a pack of like 10, $1, 10 tags, something like that, and you can program what the heck your mobile phone is gonna do. That's why that two-way communication is important. It's not just like one thing. And some NFC tags are so advanced that they will be like, okay, if let's say Apple mobile detects it, it will launch this thing. If Android mobile detects it, it will do this thing. Or you can even program it yourself. It's like, my work mobile phone taps on here, load this up. If my chill mobile phone comes here, do this. That's why we basically took RFID, improved it, made it cheap enough and user accessible, and enough data capability was added for handshake. So what are the uses of it? That's the technology of it. What are the actual use of this? Payment gateway is the most common reason, because iPhones did not got this like for very, very, very long time after NVIDIA, and the only reason iPhone even got NFC is simply because it became a kind of a necessary for payment gateways, because credit cards were utilizing this without mobile phones. So it was already there, like you might as well utilize the infrastructure. So payment gateway kind of became very successful. Then we have Bluetooth pairing. This is the one thing that I am reasonably sure you must have seen this in your Bluetooth speaker, Bluetooth headphones, or something like that. You must have seen this. Heck, I have a Bluetooth headphone 10 years ago, Bluetooth wireless, and that also has NFC. So I know for a fact that most of you have seen that. Then whenever you see two people tapping their mobile phone and transferring data, what the heck is happening? NFC is not designed for data transfer, but it has enough data capability that it will do handshake. Basically, Wi-Fi handshaking can be done. So you tap two mobile phones, it creates a hotspot, transfers the data, relevant data, basically passcode and all that jazz, and voila, you have point-to-point network. Then you have trigger abilities. Basically, you buy these things, basically tags, and you put them wherever you want. For example, many people bought this tag and put them in their nightstand and be like, okay, I'm gonna put it here, and I want my phone to go into do not disturb mode. Only alarm clock will work and everything else will go away, and I will fall asleep without any distractions. So people utilize that. Sometimes you can have another tag in your car. It's like, bro, I'm gonna put it here, disable this or something like that. Maybe go into flight mode or something like that. Up to you, completely up to you. User programmable, that's a critical aspect of this. Then you can even make buttons, because like I've provided unbox therapies video of that. Dimple IO, basically they give you a tag that you attach on it. It has 4 buttons, and each of these buttons can trigger an action. So you can have like direct one button that opens up a calculator, so you'll have a dedicated button for a calculator. You can have one button that does like plays one favorite song. It's like it will launch that exact song. So it's up to you. How it's basically macro pad for you. Then somebody took this idea and made it even better. It's like full keyboard, full NFC keyboard. Benefit, no battery needed. So there are a lot of uses of it. However, you have to understand that this is not a smashing success, even though iPhone is using it. The reality is the big launch basically what happened in Samsung S4 around April 2013. Basically by 2014, people had this and utilized it, and by 2016, almost every high-end phone had this. But even after that, it never became everywhere. Everybody was using it. Tags, and I'm reasonably sure you not have seen tags everywhere floating around, which you should have seen that. But the reason for that is mid-range Android phone, which sells more than iPhone and all that combined, they do not have this. Like my first Android phone that I bought was Lenovo YP1. It had NFC. After that, I bought MIA1, did not have NFC. After that, I bought Samsung M30, still does not have NFC, and that's the whole reality of it. NFC is not basically present everywhere, because again, it's not that popular in China. So flat out, it's not catching on, so to say, for that reason. And what it's supposed to do, you can nowadays accomplish the same thing with let's say RFID system. RFID, I'm saying, sorry about that. QR codes. Basically, QR code is also an image that you can scan utilizing your camera, and voila, you have the small snippet of data. Let's say, for example, I want for you guys to have the ability to transfer money to me. Let's say donate money to me. I could have an NFC tag, but I have to physically take it to you, and you have to physically tap it. Or I can just say S2T@UPI. That's my UPI ID. You can donate whatever you want, or I can have a QR code. This is not the QR code. I can have the QR code. You can scan it. Done. Everything else. So QR code started to replace many of the place where NFC should have shined. On top of that, for many places where transferring basically IDs and Wi-Fi password and all that, for like airports and all that, people started to utilize mobile phones. For that reason, SMS became basically one-time password thing. So it did not succeed because there were not only competitions, it's the absence from mid-range market and the security vulnerability. There has been a lot of scares recently simply because even though people building this architecture, basically NFC, they wanted to make it secure, but because security is always conflicts with what we classify as a convenience, you just want to tap it and forget about it. But here's the deal: the company, the company I'm specifying, NFC itself wanted is basically you tap your credit card, it asks you for a pin. But people don't like pin with their credit cards, so that never took off. And consequence of that, many people lost their whole credit cards of balance simply because somebody bumped up into them into their, like, let's say a busy place like a bus station or a train station. Voila, all your credit card data is gone because of that NFC. But like that's why you will see so many scares of our bi-metal plated wallet and ridge wallet and all that, because it's this RFID blocking system. For that reason, it's like inherently you're supposed to have a pin system to protect against that, but that was not utilized. For that reason, NFC got this bad reputation that is very security vulnerable. And not to mention, you can easily bypass that issue if you just turn it off, but then that becomes the problem is if you have to turn it on every time you want to do something, it's no longer as useful as it could be. That's the reason it never became successful, because again QR code started to do its thing, and not to mention the security scare. All, like, again, it will be there, it will be kept using, but it will never become everywhere. Slowly it may come down like after 2030, but right now I will not hold my breath on that. So it's not a failure, but it's not also a like smashing success, so to say. So this was my presentation on NFC. I hope you liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I'd urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment, and please leave a comment because I try to reply to all of them. And subscribe, press the bell icon if you, and as always, thanks for watching.